Affordable housing forces tens of thousands of Ontarians into spending at least half of their income on rent, leaving little for food or other basic necessities. Does your party support a detailed plan with targets and timelines for an increase in affordable housing in the provincial 2012 budget? And we will begin with Elaine.
Thank you. And can you just read, does your party support, what was it you said?
It says, does your party support a detailed plan with targets and timelines for an increase in affordable housing in the 2012 budget?
Yes, thank you. We certainly do. We're committed to it. It's in our platform. And I want to tell you why you can trust us. This housing that my colleague is talking about that has been introduced in SG&G in the last 2 years, both in Cornwall and in the counties, started in 2005 with what we call the NDP budget that Jack Layton brought in when Paul Martin was desperate for his support in a minority government, and Jack negotiated $4.5 billion for social programs, including a fair chunk of that money for housing. Now, the McGuinty Liberals held that funding, that spending up for years, but it's finally filtering down into the system just now. So when an NDP government says they will support social housing, you can trust us. We mean it, we'll do it.
All right, Mark McDonald, please.
Social housing. It's worthwhile telling a little story because this is what's important. You'll hear all politicians saying what they're going to do, what they're going to do. Everybody's making promises what they're going to do. But what's more important is what we've done. And the Ontario Liberal government, under the leadership of Jim Brownell, has increased social housing. They built social housing in Cornwall, and they built social housing in the counties. And they helped people that were on a waiting list, with people with a disability that needed social housing. They had some built. And they did it in the worst of economic times. And not only did they build social housing, and like I say, you don't have to take it from me. Look around you. You'll hear the others complain, but look around you. They put over $1 million into making sure that some of the social housing where people were living were upgraded and brought up to standard. And the reason that they were falling below standard, this is, again, very, very important, because when I talk about the Conservatives having a massive hole in their platform, and what gets cut is they download services to the municipality. In other words, they say, here, the social housing is yours, you look after it, you're not getting any more money for it. And what it does is it causes your tax rates to go up. Otherwise, the housing doesn't get addressed. But again, I tell you, don't believe me, just look around you. Social housing has been built in Cornwall, over on 6th Street, and out in the counties, out in Ingleside. And the Ontario Liberal government and Jim Brownell did it in the worst of economic times. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Jim McDonnell.
Thank you. I think you listened to our candidate to the right of me. They're very quick on making comments and promises and telling mistruths. Our budget, our projects have been costed out by independent auditors, and none of them have said we have any holes in our budget. But let's look back to the last previous elections, to the many, many promises that Dalton McGuinty made on not raising taxes, on managing this province in a fiscal manner. He has failed whenever he has spoken. And just last week, chosen the second worst premier in Canada for fiscal responsibility. Under Tim Hudak government, we will make the hard choices to make money available for social housing. And let's go back to the previous Tory government that invested in social housing that wasn't touched until the federal government came through with money just in the last couple of years. I think what you people deserve, people of this riding, is a fair, honest politician. And I think you can do that under Conservative government. And the people that know Jim McDonnell and how I've operated in the counties, that's the way I operate. And I guess it bothers me sometimes to hear some of the mistruth and the lies, because I get tired of being lied to. And that's what we've had for the last 8 years. And I think we deserve a little bit of honesty. Thank you.
All right, now before we get to our last question, we have a bit of a switch in the lineup, if you will. Because we are down 2 candidates, Justin Rice is not here and neither is Darcy Neal, we're going to have the opportunity to take 2 questions from the audience. So don't all rush up here, but the first 2 people who can come to the podium who have a question may pose it. And if you would please just say your first name and then go ahead and who your question is directed to.
Jamie Gilson, Cornwall Free News. I'm going to address my question to Elaine and the whole panel. There's been a theme about truth and honesty and integrity coming from some of the answers of the candidates. Ms. McDonald, as a city councillor, you were the deciding vote in the apartment conversion complex of the Glengarry apartments in the center of Cornwall that housed a lot of seniors. It wasn't subsidized housing, but it was very, very important. And you were the deciding vote that forever is going to change the center of this city. Can you answer, as someone that cares about the public and social concerns, as you've stated, how you could have made that vote? Thank you.
Well, I made it quite easily because according to the laws of the land, a person is able to build an apartment building, to rent that apartment building, and when they choose to, convert it to a condo. That's called private enterprise. I don't interfere with it. I hope that by, on the other hand, supporting good, strong public services, that we can protect people who need protection from maybe the greatest excesses of the marketplace. But I am not opposed to private enterprise. And I have to tell you that we do have some Cornwall housing units in those buildings, and we did have an agreement with the people who were converting the apartment to condos that those buildings would be protected. We had a complement, I think, of 20 apartments, and we still have them, and they're protected. But I'm not going to socialize all the housing in the city or the province. But I will work to make sure that we have a sufficient complement of social housing to supplement the private market housing that we have. I support both.
Thank you for the question. And for anybody that's following the election at all, and the things that have happened in the past with respect to politics, the question is quite right. There was a group that came to the Cornwall City Council. They were represented, and for anybody here that works in that cares about social issues and social justice, they were represented at council by Mr. Etienne Saint-Aubin from the legal clinic, and he pleaded with council. And he made a presentation twice and pleaded with council and said, do not do this. You have some seniors living there, people on a fixed income, and they want to make sure that they can live in peace and quiet and comfort and know that their rents are not going to be skyrocketed and raised through the roof. And you know who, and when I say, when you look back at the record, you can look at the Ontario Liberal record and look at any record. It was our NDP candidate that voted against their recommendation, and they were turned into condos. Another thing worth noting, my opponent to the left talks about, I'm going to govern and I'll do just like I've done out there in South Glengarry. Well, I was at a South Glengarry Council meeting on Monday night when there was a group of angry residents that their water rates, their water taxes were going to go up by near 300%. By near 300%. Don't take it from me. Look it up online, look it up on the internet, and you'll see it. And so for him to sit here and make that statement and to criticize is just not fair. It's not right. And you talk about not telling the truth, and I'm not going to use the L word that he used to describe other people, because I don't think it's appropriate when you talk to people like that. It's just not right. We teach our children not to use that type of language, yet we accept it from our politicians, and I don't think it's right. Thank you.
Jim McDonnell.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I believe in teamwork. And I certainly believe in private enterprise, and I believe in the public way. But I believe that we can do a better job by combining the two sometimes. And there's alternatives that come through where we can subsidize private enterprise and end up with not only more facilities, but better facilities. And on the second point, I guess, from my opponent to the right, I'd like to address, and I guess I get back to these mistruths and this deception that is very common with this party, and I guess I've gotten used to. Yes, there are people that in our township was identified didn't have water meters. And you can imagine if it was identified you didn't have a hydro meter, what would happen? There were people on the system that were not being treated fairly. And they said, why am I paying when I have people in the community that aren't? And so we had to take the step into looking at how we would make that change to put everybody on this meter system, just like the 99% of the people that were. So, yes, it meant a raise in rates, but of course when you're not paying a fair rate, it means a raise. And we have to protect the overall water system and the 750 people that actually are paying and playing by the rules. And I guess that's one of our policy platforms. Those people that play by the rules and work hard will do better under our system. Thank you.